yogic understanding of depression. The first question that I would like to ask all of you is, in my opinion, if you look at depression from the yoga perspective, it is a very spiritual illness. Can anybody, tell me why uh, I would be saying that, or you are for it or you are against it? Anybody, any views? I say that depression is a very spiritual illness. Yes, Meenaji.
It is indeed a faulty perception. One.
The perception.
And faulty perception of what is. So most of the time, you're expecting a mango. So when you get a guava, you feel you are deprived. You get angry, your desires are not met with. There are a lot of likes and dislikes. And when the likes don't happen and you think it is dislike, so you perceive it as you're being deprived of something, leads to anger, and then anger leads to a feeling of helplessness, hopelessness, and ultimately culminates into depression.
Yes, Meenaji. So Meenaji says that, the mental turmoil that an individual goes through plays a very important role in this illness. And that is where the, yogic spiritual understanding can help. Shalini ji, what would you like to share?
I think many times depression happens because some of their wishes and likes are not fulfilled, or you have some expectation from life that it is not fulfilled, or sudden trauma. So it is a spiritual thing, because that increases your inner quest to know more about truth. What is this life about? And that is the way a person goes deeper within himself.
Very beautifully answered. Very beautifully answered. In fact, when you look at it, you will see that many people who have come out, as highly evolved spiritual personalities, in their past history, there may be some phase where they would have gone through depression. For example, Gautama the Buddha was very depressed. Rama was very depressed. Arjuna was in depression. And in that depression, they question the very purpose of life. Why to live? That is the fertile ground that is required for the seed of spirituality to be sown and to grow. So that is why we say that depression is a very spiritual illness. These are the examples in the yoga philosophy where people got into this kind of a state and evolved. When they got the answer, they evolved into yogis. The whole path of yoga requires two wings for you to fly. Can anybody tell me what are those two wings on which a yogi?
Viveka and Vairagya.
Huh?
Viveka and Vairagya.
Huh. Viveka and Vairagya, or you can say Abhyasa and Vairagya. Patanjali says Abhyas Vairagya Bhyam Tan Nirodha. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha grahiyate asamshayam mahabaho manodurnigraham chalam. So controlling the mind is very difficult, but by Abhyasa and Vairagya, it is possible. So these people already have Vairagya. Only thing they need is Abhyasa. They already feel dejected, they already feel withdrawn. So that kind of a state life has already got them into. Now they only need right direction. That is another reason that depression may be considered as a spiritual illness. And that is why I say that for other illnesses, it is physician's choice whether you want to treat it only by medicine, you want to do only massages, you want to do only yoga posture or pranayama. But when a depression patient comes to you and you are not talking to that patient about life, if you are not talking to the patient about the philosophy that is described, that is, what Krishna talks to Arjuna, what Vashishta has spoken to Rama, what Bhrigu had told Varuna, or what Gautama the Buddha gave to the world. If we are not able to discuss that with these fellows, somewhere, we are not doing a justice to our role, because this one illness definitely requires a deeper talk. And I have seen miraculous results. If people undergo CBT, if they take medicine, if they do procedures, yes, immediately in 2-3 weeks, you see depression scores improve. But I have case records. Where I have seen people coming to me, they being on medication, still going through recurrent depressive episodes. And then we assigning them a batch, do backward bending asana, do right nostril breathing, do bhastrika, do Surya Namaskara, make this a part of your lifestyle. Still, if people improve with it, after some time, after few months, it is not the solution. Yeah, the module may work as good as the medications, but medicine will also relapse, and module also, as long as they are doing, they will be better. Once they stop, within a month, they are back to square one. So it is here that deeper understanding, all of you would recollect, we have shared several scales with you, and you have filled those scales, Vimox, Raga, Dvesha, Abhinivesha, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, Asmita, everything. Now, in this particular illness, my clinical experience is, apart from medicine and yoga as a practice, whenever I spoke to these people, it was life transforming. And these people kept coming to me, even when they were maintaining very well. I have almost 30 such cases who have completely stopped antidepressant, and it has been on an average 1 to 1.5 year follow-up. Some people are more than that, 5 to 6 years follow-up also. They never went back into depression. Why? Because their energies were channelized into something more constructive. They got a direction in life and they started moving towards it. Next week, we are going to actually have a case discussion with one such girl who had been with me for last 3 years now, had a recurrent episode of depressions before that, followed yoga, stopped it, took medicine, stopped it. But then what changed her to become a very, you can say, good yoga therapist herself? Now she is helping others. So we will have this discussion in the next week. But this is the point that I want to emphasize, my dear friends. Depression is not an illness like any other illness. Here, there is lot of scope. Patient wants you to do that, and you should do that. You should explore about deeper questions about life and spend good amount of time listening to the person. In fact, when Krishna talks to Arjuna, you see lot of depressive cognitions coming up. I see all negative omens come in. I see there is no purpose of my life. It is better I go into the forest, or if they kill us, it is better than me killing them. And whole of the second chapter and the first 7 slokas of the second chapter and whole of the first chapter, Krishna is simply sitting and listening. And he is having his own pleasant nature, but very attentively. He keeps listening, does not interfere when Arjuna is talking. So the first principle we get from Bhagavad Gita is, whenever a depressed patient comes to you, please have a leisure amount of time, give a separate appointment. Depression is not an illness that can be treated in regular OPD. If you have a habit of continuing all, writing antidepressant, anti-diabetes prescriptions, if a depressed patient comes to you, please don't follow that pattern. If you cannot see, call they have a lot of patients. You call them in the evening, at least keep half an hour. Sit, just listen. Just listen. And you will be surprised when these patients come, we feel that they are not talking at all. They are not expressing anything, but you build some rapport, make them feel that you have compassion towards them. And then you see how much these patients want to talk to you. And if they open up and start talking to you, I can assure you that they will not go back to depression. Okay, so with this, I once again want to emphasize that yoga therapy looks at the individual not only at the level of the body, at the level of the brain, at the level of neurotransmitter. Yoga therapy has 5 layers. Last week, I was in Leh for a conference for our soldiers who get very depressed when they are away from their family. They are into those mountains, very cold temperature, and especially in this season, it is very depressing, very low. Winter is going to set in, and when we were discussing, I was able to make out that these people join this job, get into this kind of a profession away from their family, because somewhere in their heart they put higher values above themselves. It is not that for earning person cannot earn anything else, or they cannot take voluntary retirement after certain years of service. Why they do is they really want to protect the nation. They really want to do something for the nation. So that is the motivation that they have in life, through which they sacrifice everything else. So these people are already half yogis, more than half yogis. If in their coping strategies, if they just get that small touch, a refinement of finding out which path of yoga they should take, Raj Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and start spending their free time in going deeper into that direction in their life, I felt that we can help them a lot. So that was the whole thing about where I told them about certain techniques, but then emphasize this point as well. Now in depression, the problem begins in the Manomaya Kosha. Vijnana and Ananda are always perfect. When they are there, I am very clear what I am doing, why I am doing. But when the clouds become very dense, when my aeroplane was going from the Bangalore, I took off. It was a rainy day. Suddenly you enter into clouds. Everything is clear before that, and you enter into clouds. When you are in clouds and you look around, this side also in the window there is cloud, that side also there is cloud, and you cannot make out where you are going. Only the aeroplane keeps moving. And after some time, when that layer of cloud is gone, there is a gap, free space comes, again the sun starts shining. Bright sunlight comes, you can very clearly make out the space, and slowly the aeroplane goes again for some time and enters into another layer of cloud. Again you don't know where you are going. In the same way, the spiritual paths are also like that. There are periods when we feel that we are accelerating, we are going very well, and suddenly we feel lost. What, I am moving in circle only, I am back to the same place, whether I am progressing or not. Sometimes if the clouds are very thick, even for few minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, the plane keeps going in dark clouds only, and you feel that you are at the same place. So in the same way, in the path of spirituality also, whether you believe in God or not, if you believe in higher principles of life, sometimes we get confused in our life. We have faith in certain things, but when certain thresholds are crossed, we lose that faith. And after that, whatever anchor that we were holding on to in life also breaks. It is then that these individuals fall into depression who have these kind of tendencies. So Manomaya Kosha, the thinking pattern in depression, is the major thing that comes there is darkness, hopelessness, that I don't think now anything else can help me come out of it. I feel worthless, I feel hopeless, I cannot help myself, and nobody else can help me. And wherever I put my sight, wherever I look with hope, that thing leaves me. So there is loneliness, and the person does not find a stable ground where he can put his faith on, which will stand, which will remain there. That is the problem in depression. And once all the supports are broken, he himself is broken, then the desire to end the life comes. So Manomaya Kosha, it begins slowly. It starts affecting the Pranamaya Kosha. When it affects the prana, you see a typical pattern of breathing, deep sigh, sadness. And then in the Annamaya Kosha, it manifests by disturbing the digestive fire, loss of appetite, weight loss, or a tendency when Agni is low, you keep on eating more, develop more ama, form more ama, become more dull, gain more weight. So Dhatu Agni suffers. So ultimately, first fire to go away is the Jnana Agni. From Jnana Agni goes the Darshana Agni, the fire of perception, then goes the Jatara Agni. So when these three Agnis start becoming low, low, and low, it is then that person gets into depression. Depression is darkness. Darkness is opposite of fire. Fire is light. Light is Agni. Agni is low. Okay. So this is what happens in depression. Now, why does the individual gets into darkness? So first and foremost thing that we have to understand is that the mental resilience becomes low. Umeshji was again and again talking about alpa satwa, alpa satwa. Person born or are in a situation where they are so stressed that their mental resilience has gone down. So these depressed people do not become depressed in one day. They would have faced challenges years after years, days after days. Then it becomes overwhelming for them. They would have fought the battle for years together. It is after that that they give up. So how to test which are my weakness? Where is my why is my mental resilience going down? Where is it that I am draining my energy? So what I ask my patients, this is something that I request all the physicians who are here to learn. This is called as Yama Niyama based psychotherapy. Okay, this I have done with almost every one of my depressed patient who came and started talking to me. See, these are 5 doors of mental resilience, 5 pillars on which the mental resilience, the mind stand. If certain pillar becomes weak, it is then only that imbalance comes in and the excessive thinking starts and the rajas begins. Like Umeshji was saying that in depression, in the beginning, there is increase in vata. And after that, slowly the kapha comes in. Yogic understanding is that in the beginning, there is break of the yama. With that, the thoughts increase, that increase the rajas. And with increase in rajas, when the expectations are not met again and again, after putting a lot of effort, you are not succeeding, or the expectations kept on breaking. It is then that slowly the tamas starts setting in. So initially sattva goes low, rajas increases, sustains, generates more and more frustration. Then you keep on fighting. Slowly you start giving away. I have seen many people who get into depression are actually, they are very brilliant. They are toppers. They are high achievers. They never saw failure in their life. They wanted to win at any cost. And such people, they, with the inability to handle their rajas anymore, speed going out of their control, then probably as a protective response, the system puts them into depression. Okay. So how do you do this Yama-based psychotherapy? The question that you ask is very simple. In fact, all of us can do that. If all of you have a pen and a paper, there are 5 Yamas. Each Yama, we will make 2 questions. You have to rate yourself. All of you should rate yourself only. From 0 to 10. Okay? 10 means you have followed this Yama throughout your life. 0 means I have not followed this Yama ever in my life. Okay? So, first item, number 1, non-violence. Divided it into 2 subtypes. Number 1, breaking of this Yama. Okay, I have broken ahimsa. Number 1, towards others, people around me. In your behavior, in your speech, in your thinking, you were violent towards others. If all the time, rate yourself 10. If never, rate yourself 0. If you rate 0, it means you are almost Gautama the Buddha. So put that as your mark, which means 0. Then second aspect of the non-violence you have to put is, I have broken the yama of ahimsa towards me, myself. All the time, 10. Never, 0. Rate yourself. If you are rating 10, it means that you are very self-critical. It means you hate yourself. It means you don't want to see yourself alive. It means when anything wrong happens, you are the first one to blame yourself only. Where even if you have not contributed to the problem that much, you have a tendency to take whole blame on yourself. Then you rate yourself higher on this scale. If you rate yourself 0, it means you are completely self-compassionate. You are a big fan of yourself. You love yourself. Then you rate yourself 0. Second aspect is about truthfulness, satya. Satya also you can make 2 subtypes. Satya in your mental world, in your thinking process, and satya in your behavior, in your cognition and in your behavior. In your behavior, you have never told a lie, you have never cheated with anybody, rate yourself 0. If you have done this more often in your life, rate yourself higher. Cognitively, if what you think, you don't tell. If what you show on the expression on your face, inside you are exact opposite. Then a mask always there on your face, okay? Then you rate yourself higher on the cognition aspect of the asatya. Means satya is broken more often cognitively, then rate 10. If whatever you think inside, whatever goes on within you is there in your behavior as it is, in your expression, in your thinking, telling, then you put yourself less marks, 0. Similarly, rate yourself for non-stealing, asteya. Asteya also 2. One is about intellectual property and other is about physical property. If you have stolen other people's ideas, other people's PPT and presented it as your own, if it is told by somebody else but you project as if it is your own thought, then rate yourself higher towards asteya in intellectual property. And then if you see certain objects which belongs to nobody else, you pick it up thinking that if it doesn't belong to anybody, it belongs to you. It may not be direct stealing, but or claiming things which do not belong to you. In this way, rate yourself. Please remember, higher the score, more are that yama broken. Lesser the score, not broken. Then brahmacharya, again divided into 2 subtypes. Number 1 related to sexual organ. Number 2 related to the second most powerful sense organ. How often has this particular sense organ forced you to do an action or a thought process against your wish? I did not want to do it, but I was pulled by my sense to do it. I did not want to overeat, I ate. I did not want to indulge in this activity, but I indulged. So, for sexual organ, 1. 10 means every time my sensual organs, my sex organs win over my intellect. Every time. Whenever I get a situation, nobody is watching, I give away. I cannot resist. Then you rate yourself 10. Even if nobody is watching, you are alone and you are able to resist every time in your life, then you rate 0. Then second, select the next most powerful organ. Number 1 is sex organ. Number 2, you have to select whether it is smell for you, taste, tongue, ears, eyes to see. What you don't want to see, you end up seeing. Your eyes become more powerful than your intellect. Or not listening, you listen. You don't want to gossip, you end up gossiping. You wanted to spend half an hour, you spend 4 hours gossiping. So then the walk, the second, whichever is most powerful in you, rate that from 0 to 10. More powerful it is 10. More powerful is your intellect, 0. And the last one is aparigraha, ability to let go. Again, divided into 2 subtypes. Number 1, related to your emotions and relationships. Whoever is your loved one, how easily can you share that person with another? How possessive are you in your relationship? If you are very possessive, rate 10. If you are freedom giving to your partner, rate 0. Then the second aspect is about the materials in your life. Things that you don't use or need, or even if you need, but at that time you don't need, can you share with others? Just in your mind, bring the image of your almiras. How many clothes are there which you have not worn for so many years, but still whenever it had to be given to people, you kept them back inside the house thinking that you will wear them someday. There are many such items. You know how useless things are filled in your house, how much hoarding you have done. If more, rate yourself 10. It means you find it difficult to let go things that you are attached to. 0 means you are very freedom giving. Whatever anybody asks, you can share. You are very generous. Then you rate yourself less. Now, all of you have the scores in front of you. 0 to 10, there may be 20 items scores and you have rated yourself. Now I want you to encircle the 2 lowest scores there. 2 lowest scores, please encircle. It may be 1 from ahimsa, 1 from brahmacharya, 1 from satya, 1 from asteya, anywhere. Out of those 20 items, I want all of you to encircle the top, the lowest 2. Now, these are the 2 yamas which are draining your energy, which are generating more thoughts in your mind. Now, to break a yama, it also requires some energy that should go against the yama and break it. That energy that makes me do thinking and action against a yama, Patanjali calls that energy as vitarka badha. What does Patanjali call that as? Vitarka badha. Patanjali says that whenever you get vitarka badha, it means a thinking process that is going against the yama. You do pratipaksha bhavana, it means you think contrary to it. That thought wants to break yama. You think opposite that if I break this yama, I am going to enter into more and more darkness. So Patanjali describes the psychotherapy known as pratipaksha bhavana. Think the negative consequences of breaking the yama at that time. What is this pratipaksha bhavana? How should you do? Patanjali says, vitarka hinsadaya. Vitarka means opposite of yamas. How the yamas are broken? In 3 modes. Krit, karita, anumodita. I break the yama by directly doing an action against that yama. Karita means I don't do it, but I provoke another person to do it. I will not hit anybody, but I will tell things to another so that he gets angry and fights with the third fellow. That is karita. Anumodita is I don't do it, I don't provoke anybody also, but if it is going on in front of me, I silently sit and enjoy. Yeah, some people are there, they enjoy other people fighting, gossiping, somebody suffering. So that is also a vitarka. Then Patanjali says, from where is this vitarka, the energy to go against the yama coming? He says there are 3 major sources from which they come, depending on the personality of the individual. Now, I request all of you to rate yourself. Higher the score, more of this emotion covers your conscience, your psyche. This emotion dominates in you. From 0 to 10, rate yourself. Number 1 for lobha. In the bracket, you can write greed. What do we mean by greed? Greed means whenever I want something, I want that very strongly. When I get it, I am not satisfied by less, I always want more. So the desire for wanting something is very strong in me, and it is my primary driving force. If that is there more in you, then you rate yourself 10. If you have no lobha at all, I am zero lobha, I am not wanting, desiring, feeling greed towards anything in my life. Anything that I have, even if you take, it doesn't matter, even if it is given, doesn't matter, then you rate 0. So rate yourself from 0 to 10 on the lobha. Number 2 is krodha. How much anger do you have suppressed within you? If that is the major emotion that covers 100% of your heart, see, in your heart, what is more, lobha, krodha, or moha? I am asking. So 10 means 100%. The major suppressed emotion within your heart is anger only. Now, these people are always there. Little bit trigger they get, blast comes. It may be towards others, it may be towards themselves, but there is anger. If you are an anger dominant personality, rate yourself higher, towards 10. If you have very less anger, rate 0. And number 3, write moha. In the bracket, you can write attachment or infatuation. There are third category of personality, Patanjali says. They are people who get easily impressed by others, who get easily attached to others, and they find it very difficult to detach once they attach. So these are the people who have a tendency of lot of daydreaming, lot of attachment, and they crave for attention and want people to put attention on them, want them to be pampered, want them to be taken care, want them to be hugged. All those kind of emotions that come are coming under moha. So the greatest thing that these people want is that their close one, their loved one should always be close to them. They should never go away from them. So very strong likings. Raga is quite strong. And at the same time, they also have dvesha towards those whom they don't like. So if moha is the predominant emotion in you, then rate yourself higher for moha and lesser. I hope all of you are doing that. Now I request all of you to find out the highest score among these 3 for you and encircle that. So now you have 2 insights about yourself. One, which is the predominant emotion within my heart, which is governing my life. See, all of us, those 100 people who are there in this meeting right now, all of us are either a lobha dominant personality, or a krodha dominant personality, or a moha dominant personality. One may be dominant in us. Second, other may also be there, second and then third, but one may be the most dominant. Now that most dominant one emotion in you is making you break 2 yamas. And this has been the story of your life. This has been the direction of your life. And if this direction continues, then this emotion is going to break these yamas, and this is going to increase thinking, reduce your mental resilience, and make you more prone towards a mental illness. So Patanjali says that you should contemplate whenever you get a thought of going against the yama, that it is coming from this emotion, that I am directly doing it, or it is done, I am making other person provoking it, or I am silently approving it. And this intensity with which it comes and breaks also can be mild, moderate, and severe. Mridu, madhya, adhimatra. And finally, what you have to do in Pratipaksha Bhavana, you have to think that if this time also I again give up to this emotion and break the yama, ultimate result that I am going to get, even momentarily it may be satisfying for me, but ultimate result that I am going to get is dukham. I will ultimately be only frustrated. Ajnanam, more ignorance will come into my being. Ananta phala, and it will start an unending cycle of suffering, ignorance, suffering, and there will be no end to it. Iti pratipaksha bhavanam. This is pratipaksha bhavana, a way of counseling oneself and channelizing the direction of one's own life according to sage Patanjali. So, therefore, yogic understanding of depression based on the scales that we have filled and based on what Patanjali says, we understand that among the modes of consciousness, the ma, the introvert direction, ma and u is seen more in people who are prone to depression. They have less of akara, and you will see that in the depression module, in between the practices, we actually do akara chanting more. Second, in depression, we see that there is an initial increase in rajas, that is increase in vata. That rajas increases because one of the yamas is broken, and then the thinking increases to cope, to find a solution. As increasing rajas leads to more and more frustration, irritability, dukkha, slowly tamas sets in, and tamo sattva kind of a picture that comes in. If sattva also starts going down, then the person starts moving from mild, moderate depression to depression with psychosis and more severe depression. Okay, till sattva is there, person has insight and he can be helped by counseling. Yamas compromised. In my opinion, whenever I have met depressed people, I have seen that these people have violence towards themselves. And the second one, we see that these people are very attached to their loved ones. So aparigraha and the ahimsa. Ahimsa and aparigraha.
మంచి కాంపిటీషన్ తో చేశారు అసలు పోస్టర్ మేకింగ్.
Aparigraha and non-violence. Negative emotion, mostly I have seen that people who get into depression have a lot of anger within themselves. Among lobha, moha, krodha, the dominant one that I have seen is krodha, and the second dominant that I have seen is moha. And in raga dvesha, we see that when they get into depression, they have low raga, but high dvesha, but pre-morbid personality shows more raga. So their expectations in the beginning are very high, they are very rajasic, but they are broken again and again. Then they get into a state of giving away all their support system. They become completely hopeless. And then most of their energies then start moving towards avoiding things. Okay. And they lose trust and hope. And in advanced stages of depression, when people have suicidal tendencies, the abhinivesha or fear that something bad may happen or I may die, that is also less. This is how, we understand depression as a yogic formulation from yogic understanding. Now, how do we design the module? What is the way in which we choose the practices that we use in depression? So the question that we ask is there an effect of my mind on my body or on my breath? For example, which posture does a person adopt when he feels really sad? No, we have discussed this before also. We naturally see that the shoulders are drooping, person closes down himself, person gets into such kind of a position where all the senses are withdrawn. I don't want to connect to anybody. I don't want to talk to anybody. Also in this position, person is protecting all his vital organs. In the mother's womb, a person feels very calm and relaxed, very safe and secure, and assumes this Karna Pidasana kind of a position. If done in lying down, this is Pavan Muktasana. If done sitting, it is Shashankasana. So the person grounds oneself. And this grounding, we have seen that makes person feel more protected and more safe. You may feel that this asana or this posture of the body may help in depression then. But rather than depression, we have found that getting into this position helps in anxiety. In fact, we have seen people getting into this position and doing gentle humming has been found useful in aborting a panic attack also. Whereas which posture does a person adopt when he feels really happy? No? Person opens his arms, person really opens up his chest, backward bending, opening up. Now, that kind of a posture comes when I feel happy. So the mechanism that we use here is when my mind is happy, it brings my body into certain posture. So if I voluntarily bring my body into that kind of a posture, will it give a positive feedback to my mind and elevate my mood? We did a RCT here where we made depressed individual, half of them perform backward bending poses, half of them perform forward bending poses, 60 in each arm. And after 2 weeks, we observed that backward bending people showed greater improvement than forward bending. It is not that forward bending people worsened, they also improved. But the improvement of people with backward bends was significantly more than the forward bend. Therefore, in depression module, you will see a lot of emphasis on backward bending, Ushtrasana. Then there is Ardha Chakrasana, Bhujangasana. Those asanas are more. Similarly, is there a connection of my mind with my emotion, with my breath? So studies have also shown that the breathing pattern is more erratic when you have negative emotions. In fear, it is the most erratic. Anger pattern and depression patterns are similar. The more depressed, the more it shows anger pattern. But the breathing in anger is more deep, whereas in depression, it becomes more and more shallow, but fast. And there is, depression shows a lot of sympathetic activation. General idea is that depression may be bringing a parasympathetic dominance. No, depression brings sympathetic activity. That is what Dr. Kishore also found. So they have a lot of agitation suppressed deep within themselves. Whereas when you are with your loved one, when you are in deep meditation, the pattern shows more of parasympathetic dominance and joy. Bloch et al. Actually did a very interesting research. They hypnotized the subjects and asked them to recollect the most sad event of their life, most fearful event of their life, most joyful event of their life, the event that generated anger in them in their life. And they, through plethysmography, they noted the pattern of the movement of the lungs, chest. So I want you to focus on the first one and the last one. See, the patient with sadness, you see the inhalation is more interrupted and prolonged, whereas exhalation is more abrupt and sudden. So prolonged inhalation, which is interrupted, and sudden abrupt exhalation. That is what is the pattern of breathing observed in sadness. Whereas the pattern of breathing of joy is exact opposite. Inhalation is abrupt and fast, whereas exhalation is more prolonged and step-by-step manner. So when we prescribe this particular module, we give them right nostril breathing because we consider that their Chandra is over dominant, Surya is under dominant because the Kapha darkness is more. So we tell them to close the left nostril, breathe in through right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out through right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So inhalation is to exhalation ratio of 1:2 and making the exhalation more prolonged and more graded, inhalation to be more fast. This particular pattern of breathing, can it give my brain the signals that I am in a state of joy? This is how we use it. Of course, if you understand prana, tasmin sati shwasa prashwasayoho gati vichhedah pranayama. Patanjali says that the whole process of pranayama is to reduce the speed of breathing through which you bring a state of parasympathetic dominance. At the first step of bringing parasympathetic dominance is inhalation is to exhalation ratio of 1:2. So you prolong the exhalation. That is what you focus on. And there are Antar Kumbhaka and there are Bahya Kumbhaka also. This is the advanced stage of pranayama. Ultimately, the ratio that we want to reach is a ratio where the Antar Kumbhaka duration is more. Antar Kumbhaka is more and then Bahya Kumbhaka is lesser. That is what Hatha Yoga Pradipika also recommends for Nadi Shodhana. The ratio is 1:4:2:1. So you breathe in for 4 count, hold the breath inside for 16 count, breathe out in 8 count, and again hold the breath for 4 counts. 4, 16, 8, 4. In that ratio, the breathing, if it is done, it is more conducive for the stage of meditation. And these are the 3 types of pranayama he describes. Rechaka means breathing in. Rechaka is breathing out. Puraka is breathing in. Antar kumbhaka is internal retention. Bahya kumbhaka is external retention. And slowly, individual can keep on increasing the count, maintaining the same ratio. The 4th pranayama is the transcending the internal objects. The 4th pranayama is when there is a stoppage of the breath. The breath becomes so shallow, so free that the person doesn't make out whether he's breathing in or he is breathing out. It becomes almost comes to a standstill. It happens in a state of trance or samadhi. Then, by doing this practice of pranayama, what does Patanjali say? Tatah kshiyate prakasha avaranam. By doing that, the covering of darkness over the inner light is removed. So we understand that depression is a avarana, probably a kapha avarana. Now this avarana has to be removed, and for that the key practice becomes pranayama. And what is the second result of pranayama practice? Dharanasu cha yogyata manasaha. Mind also develops the capability of doing deeper meditation or developing a one-pointed concentration. In fact, in depression, we know that there is hypofrontality, there is inability to concentrate, there is inability to sustain attention, in one particular task, and that also develops, means cognitively also pranayama is better for depression. And number of scientific researches actually prove that the touch of the air in the nostril, how does it affect brain? They say that through the olfactory bulb, PFC, ACC, insula, amygdala, all these regions can be activated or deactivated. So, and these changes that you observe in the brain are not observed when the individual breathes in and out through the mouth, because through the mouth you cannot touch the olfactory bulb. Therefore, same ratio of breathing, if you do through the mouth, it will not have the impact that it will have when you are breathing in through the nostrils. So there are a number of such studies that are now showing that slow deep breathing, when your breathing ratio goes to less than 6 per minute, it is known as slow paced breathing. In that you prolong your exhalation, and that is able to bring a state of parasympathetic dominance. Whereas cyclical hyperventilation, when the breathing rate is fast, at a rate of say 80 to 100 per minute, it has a capacity of activating sympathetic nervous system. And our researchers show that if you do first fast breathing followed by slow breathing, then the slow breathing becomes more powerful in bringing parasympathetic dominance. It means that the fast breathing is used as a tool to shatter the tamas and go deeper in relaxation. See, if a person, you want him to relax, you tell him, come and lie down in Shavasana. He will not go into deeper level of relaxation. He may get into sleep, and in that sleep, there may be a stagnation to his relaxation. In that state, when he is already relaxed, if you make him get up and do 4 rounds of Surya Namaskara and then again lie down, then he may cross that stagnation and go deeper in relaxation. So that is the theory that is used to stimulate and then relax. That's why Bhastrika is used, followed by slow pranayamas in this module. So there are such, evidences breathing through the nostril is more effective and all that. Then finally comes the aspect of producing the sound vibration. Oh, I already told you that this sound deactivated the limbic cortex. It means the negative ruminating area of the brain got deactivated. And we use a lot of akara sound in this because we want these people to open up and express themselves, connect to more people because they are already closed. So therefore, Brahmari is not that commonly used in depression, but the sound that is most appropriate is the sound ah, which has a catharsis kind of a effect. So I'm going to, share a YouTube link with all of you where we have recorded a 20-minute depression capsule. I want all of you to have a look at that. I will show you the capsule now. These are repeated evidences. 2-3 studies we have done where we found with Om that there was a limbic deactivation. This we have discussed previously also, that A is wakeful, U is dream, and Ma is sleep. And in depression, Ma and U are dominant, A is less active. In fact, we put subject into a fMRI scanner and asked him to chant A, U, Ma separately. And what we observed was that the A sound recruited more attentional network, whereas Ma recruited more default mode or resting networks. So you need to recruit more attentional networks in depression. And that is a biological proof of why you should use A sound more. So what is the capsule, yoga capsule that we use for depression? See, the module that we have developed is a complete 1-hour module, but in our OPDs, clinically, it is not possible for us to teach them complete 1 hour. So among those practices, also highly rated practices, we have made a shorter 20-minute capsule. So that capsule for depression, I am going to show you now. It has spinal twist. It has hands in and out breathing, you know, the positive feedback that this is the posture of happiness. I am opening up, turning my neck upward, breathe out, come back. Then of course the half wheel pose, the backward bending pose. Then people do Bhastrika, Surya Anulom Vilom. They can do Kapalabhati also. Nadanusandhana. So the module, when you see in the beginning, we just prepare them to sit still and loosen the tension from the back by performing a twist. After that, we give them hands in and out breathing, where the predominant focus is on bringing a connection between body, breath, and mind, and chest opening. And then half wheel pose. If you have even lesser time, then you may, directly go to Bhastrika, because Bhastrika is more preferred than Kapalabhati. If you have time, better to do Kapalabhati also, because both are Kapha Dosha Vishoshini practices. We do Bhastrika 20 strokes as fast as they can using full lung capacity, then rest for 30 seconds and repeat another cycle of 20 strokes of Bhastrika. It oxygenates the whole system, invigorates the pranic energy, stimulates the sympathetic nervous system. And after this, we do the slow breathing practice, which is Surya Anulom Viloma, breathing in through right, breathing out through right, but maintaining a inhalation is to exhalation ratio of 1:2. So you breathe in for 4 count, breathe out for 8 counts. After this practice, you can perform mind sound resonance, A, U, and Ma. And also, I forgot to tell you that after each practice, we make them chant the sound A once or twice, and then comes the balancing effect. A is for the chest chakra, which is the center for emotion. And we believe that in depression, the emotion are more suppressed. And with the sound A, they open up. So this is the module. And finally, we bring them to a state of awareness or lie down in Shavasana and then perform effortless observation of their breathing in Dhyana Mudra. This is the depression capsule. I will share the YouTube link with you. We have been teaching, these yoga practices to people even through telemode, and we found that this is quite effective. Our repeated, now we have 4-year follow-up data of patients being taught yoga through online. There are a lot of them are depressed patients also. And we have come up with this capsule. We started this during COVID-19 pandemic when people were really depressed. And we found that not only depression, stress, anxiety reduced, these people actually reported enhancement in mental resilience with continued practice. So dear friends, this is the link for the practice. Now the evening batch is actually not working. If you people want to join us and do yoga with us in the morning from Monday to Friday, you can log in using this Zoom ID 9580857044. Sharp at 6:50 a.m. you should log in and continue to do it with us up to 7:30 a.m. Tomorrow morning is a holiday. Day after tomorrow, the practice is going to be there. Every Tuesday, I myself conduct the session, and after the session, around 7:45, we also have a philosophical discussion on how to manage depression, anxiety, lifestyle. Here it says no password required, but now Zoom passcode is compulsory. So the passcode is very simple. There are 5 zeros, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So that is the passcode. With this, I come to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. Namaste. I'm sorry for taking more time, but we have come to the end. If there are any questions, we can discuss.
So may I ask quickly?
Yes.
In the module, sir, you have Paschimottanasana and Patangasana, not in the abbreviated version, but in the full version. So Paschimottanasana obviously is a forward bending, and the target symptom it says is anorexia, weight gain, weight loss, constipation, decreased sexual desire functioning. However, is there a valid reason for inclusion here? And then the second question was Patangasana, which was added on late on. Other than external rotation of the hip flexor, is there another reason as to why? Doing it many times is obviously ascension of energy upward, so the upward prana stimulation. Also, Makarasana, I did not understand technically. It says one side and the other side, not for this particular module, but in the paper that you shared. Could you kindly help to clarify all?
I can answer all the questions, madam. The first one is that we did not want the module to only have backward bends, but backward bending asanas are more. But it is always recommended that, people perform a complementary pose also. There is another understanding in yoga that once you do a backward pose, you also do a complementary pose to bring a balance. Another thing is that these people have loss of appetite, and these, especially Paschimottanasana, is an asana which yogis use, which say that it can increase the digestive fire, and digestive fire enhancement is a major objective in depression. Second is that this asana also pushes the Kundalini energy into the spine. So then after that, performing Om chanting or other asana, they become more effective. So that was the reason that was added. Patangasana is added because another theory of understanding here in depression is that there is excessive prana in the head region. They have a tendency to overthink, and the prana, the thinking process, if it has to come down, the prana has to go downward. This is the philosophy which says that wherever the mind goes, there the prana goes. So when you do butterfly, you are actually activating the apana prana. So the mukha prana reduces. This is the second question. And the third question, madam, that what was the third question you asked?
Makarasana.
Yeah. So the Makarasana, if you get only into the asana, it is one-sided. Whereas when in the asana, when you go and you bend your legs backwards like this, you're understanding, no? There are two versions of Makarasana. One is known as...
Yes, so I was looking for the classical one, and which is supine, prone position, sorry.
So in prone position, you can either relax in Makarasana, or there is something called as Makarasana stretch, where you get into Makarasana and then you bend your legs backwards. There you require alternate legs, or the right-sided and the left-sided, both sides.
Understood, sir.
Thank you. Okay, my dear friends, I hope you enjoyed the class. I will upload this and share the slides with all of you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Namaste.